Imagine for a moment that your life is like a train on a set of tracks. Every single day, the little things you do, your habits, your choices, your routines, are what determine where that train is going. If you want to arrive at a destination called success, health, wealth, and fulfillment, then you need to make sure that your tracks are aligned with that future. But here's the truth. Most people allow bad habits to quietly, invisibly, and relentlessly pull them in the wrong direction. The amazing thing about habits is that they're like compound interest. A small bad habit, done daily, compounds into stress, regret, and disappointment. But a small good habit, practiced every single day, compounds into energy, confidence, prosperity, and peace of mind. The difference between winners and losers in life is not talent or luck, it's their daily routine. Think about it. Every time you hit the snooze button, every time you waste an hour scrolling aimlessly, every time you skip that book, that workout, that opportunity to plan your day, you're teaching your mind to settle for less. And the problem with settling is that it becomes a pattern. But here's the good news. Habits can be changed. You are not a prisoner of your past. You can decide this very moment to replace a bad habit with a good one. The secret is simple but powerful. Success is nothing more than a few disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated over and over. When you decide to break free from destructive habits and install positive ones, your life begins to shift. Wake up a little earlier, read for 20 minutes, exercise for half an hour, plan your day on paper, practice gratitude, set clear goals. Each one may seem small, but strung together, they become unstoppable momentum. You don't need to change everything overnight. All transformation begins with a single decision. Decide right now, which one bad habit will you eliminate today? And which one good habit will you begin today? If you take control of just one, you'll feel a sense of power, of discipline, of mastery, and that feeling will fuel the next change and the next. Your habits determine your destiny. Change your habits, and you change your future. If you want to be successful, happy, and fulfilled, build the routines of successful, happy, and fulfilled people. Act as if your life depends on it, because it does. Remember, every great achiever started where you are, struggling with old habits, battling self-doubt, wondering if change was possible. And every one of them discovered the same truth. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. Become disciplined. Become intentional. Become the master of your own routines. From this day forward, commit to trading bad habits for good ones, one step at a time. Because the moment you do, you will unleash the most powerful force in the universe, the power of your own consistent daily actions. And that is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary success. You are the architect of your future. At this very moment, your life is the direct result of the decisions and habits you've chosen in the past. Every action you take, every choice you make, no matter how small, is a brick that you lay on the foundation of your future. Most people don't realize this truth and drift through life as if their outcomes are dictated by luck, circumstances, or the decisions of others. But the reality is simple. You are in charge. The way you live each day creates the person you will be, and the life you will experience tomorrow. Think of your life as a building under construction. If you lay down weak materials, if you cut corners, if you fail to plan properly, the structure will eventually collapse. But if you carefully choose strong materials, if you stay consistent, if you keep your vision clear and precise, you build something solid, lasting, and extraordinary. That is exactly how habits shape your future. A small decision, whether you wake up on time, whether you open a book instead of a screen, whether you eat clean instead of junk, may seem insignificant in the moment. Yet each of those decisions adds strength or weakness to the foundation of your life. People who achieve greatness don't get there by accident. They understand that their daily actions are the tools of creation. They wake up every morning knowing that what they do today is their blueprint for tomorrow. If they want health, they design their routine around exercise, nutrition, and rest. If they want wealth, they design their routine around learning, working strategically, and managing money wisely. If they want fulfilling relationships, they design their routine around kindness, communication, and quality time. Every area of life is constructed brick by brick, habit by habit. The challenge for many people is that they allow habits to form unconsciously. Instead of deliberately designing routines that move them forward, they fall into patterns of convenience, distraction, or laziness. Think of someone who wants to build a strong financial future but constantly spends money impulsively on things that don't matter. Each purchase may feel small, each decision insignificant, but together they create a financial structure that is fragile and unstable. Contrast that with the person who saves a portion of every paycheck, who reads books about investing, who lives below their means. Their structure grows taller, stronger, and more stable with time. The empowering truth is that no one is born with good habits or bad habits. Habits are learned, installed, and reinforced through repetition. Just as an architect draws a plan before a single brick is laid, you must have a vision for your life before your habits can take you there. The clearer your vision, the easier it is to decide which actions build toward it and which actions tear it down. If your vision is to be a confident, successful, and respected person, then the habits of procrastination, wasting time, or neglecting health simply don't fit into that blueprint. They have no place in the structure you are building. Every day is an opportunity to either reinforce the architecture of success or weaken it. You cannot change the bricks you laid yesterday, but you have complete control over the bricks you lay today. When you understand that your future is not something that happens to you, but something you design through your habits, you suddenly feel a surge of power and responsibility. You no longer blame luck, circumstances, or the actions of others. Instead, you look inward and say, "What can I do today to align my actions with the future I want?" This is the mindset of winners. They don't wait for opportunities. They build themselves into the kind of person who naturally attracts opportunities. They don't hope for success. They design their routine so success becomes inevitable. Every great achiever you admire has lived by this principle. They are the architects of their destiny, and they build it one habit at a time. Small habits compound into big results. This principle is one of the most powerful truths you can apply in your life, yet it is also one of the most underestimated. Human beings tend to focus only on big decisions, big events, and dramatic changes. We imagine that success comes from a single breakthrough, one lucky chance, or a major life-altering event. But the reality is very different. Success is built not on rare dramatic moments, but on the tiny, consistent actions you repeat every single day. Think about money as an example. If you save a small amount regularly and invest it wisely, the power of compounding transforms those small amounts into massive wealth over time. A dollar saved today may look insignificant, but 10 years of disciplined saving and investing can build a fortune. The same principle applies to your habits. A single decision to read 10 pages of a book may seem meaningless, but 10 pages a day equals over 300 pages a month and several books a year. A single workout may not change your body, but 3 workouts a week for a year will transform your health, energy, and confidence. Failure works the same way. No one destroys their future with one catastrophic decision. Failure is simply the result of tiny errors in judgment, repeated over time, until they compound into serious consequences. Skipping one workout isn't a problem, but skipping many slowly leads to poor health. Eating one unhealthy meal won't harm you, but repeated day after day, it turns into weight gain, fatigue, and even disease. Procrastinating once may not matter, but procrastination repeated becomes lost opportunities, missed deadlines, and wasted potential. Just as success is a result of consistent disciplines, failure is a result of consistent neglect. What makes this truth so powerful is that the compounding effect works quietly, almost invisibly. When you first begin a good habit, it feels like nothing is happening. You read a few pages, but your knowledge seems unchanged. You exercise for a week, but the mirror looks the same. You save a small amount of money, but your account balance hardly moves. It is at this stage that most people quit because they expect immediate rewards. But success doesn't appear instantly. It sneaks up on you, slowly at first, then all at once, because compounding eventually reaches a tipping point where the results become undeniable. This is why discipline matters so much. Discipline is the bridge between small daily actions and extraordinary long-term results. When you stay disciplined with small habits, reading daily, practicing gratitude, exercising, eating clean, saving money, you may not notice dramatic changes at first, but beneath the surface, something powerful is happening. Just as a seed grows roots, before you see any sign of life above the soil, your habits are preparing results that will eventually burst into reality if you keep nurturing them. Consider the opposite as well. Small errors in judgment feel harmless because the consequences are delayed. If eating junk food immediately caused a serious health issue, no one would eat it. If skipping work immediately caused financial collapse, no one would procrastinate. But because the pain is delayed, people convince themselves that small errors don't matter. Over time, those tiny errors accumulate into failure so significant it feels like it happened overnight, when in truth, it was building for years. Understanding the power of compounding gives you control. You realize that you don't need to make huge changes all at once. You don't need to work 16 hours a day or overhaul your entire life overnight. You only need to master small disciplines and repeat them daily. The results will take care of themselves. Reading for 15 minutes, exercising for 30 minutes, writing your goals every morning, saving a percentage of your income, these are not dramatic actions, but when compounded over months and years, they separate the winners from the losers. They separate the winner from the sick, the fulfilled from the sick. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has done so by harnessing this law of compounding habits. They built their lives on small disciplines until the results became unstoppable. And every person who failed did so by neglecting small disciplines until the damage became irreversible. The choice is always in your hands. Every action you take, no matter how small, is a vote for the kind of future you want. Over time, those votes add up, and they determine who you become and what you achieve. You can change any habit. This is one of the most liberating and empowering truths about human potential. No matter how long you have been stuck in a routine, no matter how deeply ingrained a behavior feels, habits are not fixed. They are patterns of thought and action that can be rewired with decision, repetition, and persistence. Too many people convince themselves that because they have always acted a certain way, they always will. They say things like, "That's just who I am," or "I've always been this way." But those statements are illusions. You are not your habits. You are the one who creates them, sustains them, and if you choose, replaces them. A habit is nothing more than a learned behavior that has been repeated so many times it becomes automatic. At one point in your life, every habit you now have was new. You had to consciously think about it. Over time, through repetition, your brain made it easier and easier until the habit required no effort. This means that habits are not permanent. They are simply conditioned responses. If you can condition yourself into a bad habit, you can condition yourself out of it and into a better one. Think of a habit as a path in a forest. The first time you walk through, it is difficult. The brush is thick, the trail is unclear, and every step requires effort. But the more you walk the same path, the easier it becomes. Eventually, the path is so clear that you can walk it without thinking. A bad habit is simply a well-worn path you've traveled too many times. Creating a new habit is cutting a new trail. At first, it's difficult, But if you keep walking it, it becomes easier until it replaces the old path entirely. The process of change begins with decision. You must decide with absolute clarity which habit you want to eliminate and which habit you want to adopt in its place. Without a clear decision, the old patterns will continue to dominate. Decision gives you focus, and focus gives you power. Once you've decided, the next step is repetition. Every time you repeat the new behavior, you strengthen the pathway in your brain, and every time you resist the old habit, you weaken its hold on you. Over time, the balance shifts, and what was once difficult becomes natural. It is important to recognize that change does not happen overnight. Most people give up because they expect instant results. They try to quit smoking for a week, or they attempt a diet for a few days, and when the old habits pull them back, they assume they have failed. But the truth is, setbacks are part of the process. The key is not perfection, but persistence. Each time you fall, you get back up, and each time you return to the new habit, you reinforce it. Slowly, the old behavior loses its power, and the new one becomes part of who you are. Another powerful tool for change is identity. When you link your habits to your sense of self, transformation accelerates. If you tell yourself, "I am trying to quit smoking," you leave room for the old habit to linger. But when you declare, "I am a non-smoker," you align your actions with your identity. If you say, "I'm trying to get fit," you leave space for inconsistency. But if you say, "I am a healthy person," your decisions begin to reflect that identity. By changing the way you see yourself, you create a foundation for lasting behavioral change. The greatest achievers in history are not those born with perfect habits. They are people who recognized destructive patterns in themselves and had the courage to change them. They replaced laziness with discipline, fear with action, and doubt with faith. You can do the same. Your past does not control your future. The fact that you have done something for years does not mean you must do it for the rest of your life. At any moment, you can interrupt the pattern, make a new choice, and begin to build a different destiny. The power to change habits is the power to change your life. Once you realize that no habit is permanent unless you allow it to be, you unlock a new level of freedom. You are not chained to your routines. You are not doomed by your patterns. You can, through choice and persistence, create habits that serve your goals, fuel your growth, and lead you to the life you want. Start with one change at a time. This is a principle that separates those who succeed in transforming their lives from those who try, fail, and give up. Human beings often set ambitious goals and expect dramatic overnight results. Someone decides to lose weight and suddenly wants to change their entire diet, exercise daily, drink gallons of water, and sleep 8 hours, all starting tomorrow. Another person wants to improve productivity and tries to wake up at 5 a.m., read an hour a day, write out goals, meditate, and eliminate distractions all at once. While the motivation is admirable, the problem is clear. Trying to change everything at once almost always leads to failure. The weight of too much change creates pressure, overwhelm, and discouragement, causing people to quit before they build any momentum. Lasting change comes from focus, not frenzy. When you commit to changing just one habit, you give yourself the chance to succeed. One habit at a time is manageable. One habit at a time gives you clarity and energy. Instead of scattering your willpower across many different fronts, you channel it into a single decisive improvement. It's like moving a large stone. If you push from 10 directions at once, nothing happens. But if you focus all your strength in one direction, the stone begins to move. That single victory gives you the confidence and momentum to tackle the next change. Consider how habits work. They are not isolated behaviors. They are interconnected routines. If you change one, it often triggers improvements in others. For example, if you focus solely on waking up earlier, that one change may lead you to sleep earlier, plan your day better, and create time for exercise. By mastering just one habit, you open the door for several others to align naturally. That is why starting small is not a weakness. It is a strategic advantage. Psychologically, success builds confidence. Each time you commit to one small change and stick to it, you strengthen your belief in your ability to change. This belief, known as self-efficacy, is the foundation for all future growth. People who attempt too much at once often experience failure, which weakens their confidence and makes them hesitant to try again. But when you succeed at one habit, even a small one, you prove to yourself that change is possible. And that proof fuels the courage to tackle bigger challenges. Think of building habits like stacking dominoes. The first domino may look small and insignificant, but once it tips, it creates a chain reaction. The key is to focus on knocking down that first domino. You don't need to worry about the entire row, just focus on one. When you commit to one habit and master it, you create a ripple effect that influences every other part of your life. This approach is far more effective than scattering your attention across many changes and failing to sustain any of them. Patience is also critical. Real transformation takes time, and trying to force massive changes too quickly is like planting a seed and expecting a tree by tomorrow. Nature doesn't work that way, and neither do habits. You must nurture the seed, water it daily, and give it time to grow. In the same way, you must nurture one habit, practice it daily, and allow it to become part of your life before moving on to the next. By doing this, each habit becomes a permanent part of your identity instead of a temporary experiment. The people who build extraordinary lives understand this principle. They don't try to become successful in one giant leap. They start small, with one discipline, one commitment, one routine. Over time, those single changes accumulate, layer upon layer, until their entire life is transformed. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable, not because they tried to do everything at once, but because they focused on one change at a time and built momentum. When you begin your own journey of transformation, resist the temptation to do it all. Choose just one habit, the one that will make the biggest positive difference right now. Commit to it fully, give it your focus, and practice it until it becomes automatic. Once you have mastered it, choose the next one. Step by step, brick by brick, habit by habit, you will create a life that is stronger, healthier, and more successful than you ever imagined. Successful people share successful routines. If you study the lives of high achievers across any field, business, sports, science, the arts, you will notice that their greatness is not an accident. It is the result of daily disciplines and structured routines that they repeat with consistency. While ordinary people often rely on mood, motivation, or circumstance to decide what they will do each day, successful people rely on systems. They know that discipline is more reliable than inspiration, and so they design routines that set them up for success automatically. One of the most common habits among successful people is rising early. By waking up before most of the world, they give themselves quiet, uninterrupted time to think, plan, and focus. This simple choice creates an edge because while others are still asleep, achievers are already working on their goals, feeding their minds, or exercising their bodies. That first hour of the day often sets the tone for the entire day. When it begins with clarity and productivity, the momentum carries forward into everything that follows. Another routine that successful people practice is goal setting. Instead of drifting through life hoping for good things to happen, they take time each day to write down their goals, review their progress, and refine their direction. This habit of clarity gives them focus. They know exactly what they are working toward and why. Without goals, life becomes a reaction to circumstances. With goals, life becomes a proactive pursuit of purpose. Writing goals daily is a routine that turns vision into reality, because what you focus on consistently expands. Learning is also central to the routines of achievers. Almost every successful person you admire is a lifelong student. They dedicate time to reading, listening to audio programs, or studying their craft. They know that the mind, like the body, must be exercised to stay strong. A single book may change the course of your thinking. A single idea may open a new opportunity. And a single insight may save years of wasted effort. By feeding their minds daily, successful people sharpen their decision-making and expand their possibilities. Physical health is another area where routines matter. High performers understand that energy is the foundation of achievement. Without health, ambition suffers. That is why exercise, nutrition, and rest are built into their routines. They treat their body like a tool that must be maintained and sharpened. Even a short workout, a balanced meal, or consistent sleep habits create the stamina required to perform at their best. While many people sacrifice health in pursuit of success, true achievers know that peak performance is only possible when the body is cared for with discipline. Gratitude is also a powerful habit embedded in the routines of successful people. They take time each day to reflect on what they are thankful for. This simple practice shifts focus away from problems and toward opportunities. Gratitude creates resilience, because when you train your mind to see the good in every situation, setbacks become lessons instead of obstacles. With gratitude, challenges are temporary and opportunities are endless. It keeps achievers positive, hopeful, and motivated, even when circumstances are difficult. Finally, successful people protect their time. They use routines to guard themselves from distraction. They plan their days in advance, prioritize their most important tasks, and refuse to let trivial interruptions consume their energy. Time management is not about being busy. It is about being effective. By structuring their routines, achievers ensure that their energy is invested in high-value activities that move them closer to their goals. The beauty of these routines is that they are available to everyone. You don't need extraordinary talent, wealth, or connections to practice them. You can wake up earlier. You can write your goals daily. You can read for 15 minutes. You can exercise consistently. You can practice gratitude. You can plan your day. These are not secrets. They are simple, proven disciplines. What separates the successful from the unsuccessful is not knowledge, but action. Successful people choose these routines and practice them long enough for the compounding effect to create extraordinary results. When you model the routines of successful people, you align your daily actions with the same principles that built empires, inspired innovations, and created legacies. By copying their habits, you invite their level of achievement into your own life. Their routines can become your routines, and their results can, in time, become your results. Your habits determine your destiny. This is one of the most important truths you can ever realize about your life. Every action you take, no matter how small, is like planting a seed. Over time, those seeds grow into trees that bear fruit, good or bad, depending on what you planted. If you plant the seeds of discipline, consistency, and growth, you harvest success, confidence, and fulfillment. If you plant the seeds of laziness, procrastination, and neglect, you harvest frustration, regret, and disappointment. Destiny is not a matter of chance. It is the inevitable result of the habits you practice every single day. Think about the direction of your life as a path. Every habit is like a step that moves you forward, backward, or sideways. When you make choices that strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and develop your character, each step moves you closer to the future you want. But when you indulge in destructive habits, wasting time, neglecting health, avoiding responsibility, you are taking steps in the opposite direction. The tricky part is that the effect is rarely immediate. The difference between a good habit and a bad habit is often invisible in the beginning. Reading for 10 minutes today doesn't change your life, and skipping it doesn't ruin your life. Exercising once won't make you fit, and skipping it won't make you unhealthy. But repeated over weeks, months, and years, these small habits shape your entire future. This is why people often wake up years later and wonder how their life ended up the way it did. Destiny doesn't arrive in one dramatic moment. It sneaks up quietly, built on tiny routines repeated thousands of times. The person who spends years developing self-discipline, learning new skills, and building healthy routines suddenly looks lucky to others when success arrives. But luck had nothing to do with it. Their habits built a destiny that could not be denied. The person who spends years in negative habits, wasting money, neglecting health, or ignoring opportunities, suddenly finds themselves trapped in regret, and it feels like disaster struck overnight. But disaster, just like success, is simply compounded habits catching up. Your habits shape not only what you achieve, but also who you become. They mold your character, your confidence, and your sense of identity. A person who repeatedly practices honesty develops a reputation for trustworthiness. Someone who consistently practices discipline begins to see themselves as strong and capable. On the other hand, a person who constantly avoids responsibility starts to see themselves as weak or unlucky. Over time, your habits don't just create results, they create you. And the person you become determines the kind of destiny you attract. One of the greatest powers you have in life is the ability to choose your habits. You may not control every circumstance, but you always control your routines. If you choose habits that align with your goals, you build a destiny that matches your dreams. If you choose habits that contradict your goals, you create a destiny of struggle and limitation. The choice is not made once, it is made daily. Every morning you wake up, you are casting votes for the kind of future you want through the habits you practice. The truth is that success and failure are not events, they are processes. Success is the process of practicing disciplines daily until they transform into extraordinary results. Failure is the process of practicing neglect daily until it results in crisis. This is why you must take your daily habits seriously. They may feel small, but they are powerful forces shaping your future, whether you are aware of it or not. The difference between people who live extraordinary lives and those who live ordinary ones is not intelligence, luck, or talent. It is habits. The most successful individuals are simply those who chose better habits and stuck with them long enough for their destiny to unfold. When you realize this, you understand that your future is not out of your control. It is entirely within your hands. By mastering your habits, you take command of your destiny. By neglecting your habits, you surrender your future to chance. Every habit you practice is a step toward your future. Each one is a piece of the story you are writing with your life. If you want to know where you will be 5 or 10 years from now, look at your habits today. They are the blueprint of your destiny. Change your habits, and you change your story. Master your routines, and you master your results. Your destiny is not written in the stars. It is written in the choices you make every single day.